Welcome back to my discussion on media's influence on gender stereotypes. Again, my name is Brittany Struther, and today I'm going to go a little more in depth about the article by Hannah Goodall. So the author starts off the article talking about how, as a society, we are saturated with media and the stereotypes that are depicted in movies and shows really across different platforms. And as we mature in age, those outside influences affect how we perceive the world. So we become swayed by the stereotypes in the media or that are broadcasted to us, and that helps us form what we think about men and women and how they should act in society. This paper discusses a lot about how popular media does have negative effects on how we perceive gender roles in society today. Hannah Goodall does take a study that author Yuna Kim observed in the Asian culture. So Kim takes a look at how women in Asia are taking the Western media and applying it to their own social existence. And these women are using our media to expand their knowledge. And while some of it may have been helpful, a lot of the media consumed has actually given them a skewed belief on how the world really works and how society views a man versus a woman. Hannah then turns her focus to an author named Julia Wood. Julia focuses on how we process some of the meanings behind the messages being broadcasted to us and how easily we can become swayed by what we see. And she does touch base on media literacy and how that can be very important for how we engage in media. Hannah then switches gears for a moment to James Potter and how he defines media literacy. So using this tool is basically taking in the media messages and accepting it more as entertainment than absolute truth. So having the tool of media literacy is going to allow us to judge for ourselves how to read into the messages rather than absorb the content and suffer the consequences of the belief that may be imposed through the media. And by becoming media literate, we are trying to understand what we are watching. And that way, what we're engaging in, again, we view it more as entertainment than a purpose of gaining our knowledge or something that's educating us. Rebecca Bullen is another author that Hannah Goodall focuses on throughout her paper. Bullen agrees a lot with what Julia Wood and James Potter have to say about media and how we take in the messages being presented to us. Her focus does go a lot more into young women and how they take in the messages being broadcasted to them. Oftentimes, we may not understand how these images can depict such negative stereotypes to a young woman. This goes back to the example I had about Disney movies. You see a lot of time in a Disney movie that there is a prince and a princess. The prince is this brave, handsome man who is supposed to come and save the princess. The princess is supposed to wait, just look beautiful, not really be there for an opinion. And I think a lot of those messages get exposed to women, especially young girls, and they think that they'll be rewarded in life if they mimic this media's representation of how a woman should be. So Bullen does feel like James Potter does have a good point when it comes to consumers of media needing to have the tools of media literacy to interpret media messages. So it's sad that the constant exposure to women, young girls, really of any age, that all we see is we're sexualized and objectified, and we're just there as a pretty picture. I think a lot of that can contribute to girls having a lack of self-esteem and confidence in their body, because you're seeing these images in the media, whether it is a movie or a film or a music video or just a simple picture in a magazine. We see ourselves as just a side ornament for a man. And a lot of times when that's depicted so much to someone, you kind of accept that as that is what my identity needs to be in society for me to be accepted and respected. Hannah Goodall continues to pull from different authors and their understanding of how media does affect women and men in society and how we misinterpret them as being true or the right way to view the world. So if you look historically at women and how we've been portrayed in television media, it's kind of created this negative image of how a woman should be. There have been many movies and television shows that I've seen that have started back in the 30s even, where you see a woman as the housewife, there to raise the children, there to take care of the home, there to tend to her husband, and that is her goal in life. Not to go out and work and be the strong leader, or to go out there and speak her opinion and be anything she wants to be. Now, while there are some shows on television that have a positive female image and show their roles as more dominant, they aren't exactly appealing to a young female audience. So, while someone of my age, for example, may be able to pick out the messages from a movie or a music video and understand that that's not exactly true, that that stereotype is not something I should want to achieve, it's not always easy for young girls to have the same mindset as mine. Bullen also cites, sadly, that 57% of girls and 59% of boys say the female characters they see in the media are better looking than the women and girls they know in real life. And both girls and boys say that female characters they see on television usually rely on someone else to solve their problems, whereas the male character can do everything on their own and they don't need any help. So the biggest focus of this article is to help us understand how damaging media can be, but also how we can use this tool of media literacy to help us kind of create our own media and have a better understanding of what real beauty and real power is versus what media's representation of it is. So a lot of stereotypes or gender stereotypes you see in the media are there to serve a purpose in telling a story. So a lot of these stereotypes may become more normal, and we think that how we are as a male or female it's accurately depicted, and while we're consuming it, we're implementing these ideas that we've seen on television into our own lives. And it's damaging. It really is. And how gender stereotypes in the media affect us socially, they begin to have an impact on our self-reflection and how we see ourselves and what we understand is true versus what TV is just trying to make appealing and get ratings. So a man will see all these images of that they're supposed to be strong and domineering, and that they have to man up. That you're not allowed to be helpless or cry or need anyone's help, that everything falls on your shoulders. And as a female, you're seen as this passive, emotional wreck that can't handle anything thrown at them. And even in TV shows that are trying to depict a woman as a leader, they make sure they have those moments where they see the woman falling apart and kind of showing that they're putting on a facade to be strong when that's really not who they are. And showing that to young women and even women of my age and up, it's kind of impacting us socially and then professionally, if that's how men and society is going to see us, as just the lesser human. So this article does have a lot of interesting facts, and it does pull from a lot of different authors and their opinions, and I'll list those as well in the next slide for the works cited. But taking a look at all of them, they all kind of focus on the same thing. We have to try and help our younger audience to understand the messages being given to us and interpret them in our own way, without that being our absolute truth of how we should be in the world. So, I hope this kind of broadened the understanding I have for the article. I definitely suggest you read it and all the other research topics that Hannah Goodall has kind of put in the paper as well. And I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'm happy to hear any feedback.